Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. The Grant. My name is Niels Tuller Winter, and I'm the creator, editor, and host of The Grant. The Grant is an independent podcast initiative with the ambition to dig into all corners of the EU R&D funding system on topics of interest for the full EU R&D funding community. One of the absolute most important elements in the research management role are human skills. This is a role where professionals need to be able to handle all kinds of different personas and adapt their approach in order to facilitate and support each researcher best. The European Competence Framework for Research Managers, or EARMA, developed under the EU-funded projects CARDEA and EARMA Roadmap, is designed to support research managers in developing key skills and aligning practices. The framework triggered a conversation with Viltaré Platzner from the Slovak Technical University in Bratislava, and we agreed to record a podcast episode on this crucial topic and discuss how useful the guidelines in the EARMA they are. Of course, we cover the research manager role, Viltaré's own experiences, and the importance of trainings and a solid recruitment strategy in the shifting field of research management. Please enjoy. The Grant. Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. Today's episode will be a subject that is of interest for many of you out there. A big segment of my listeners, they are research managers, and I have been covering the research management area for quite a while, almost since I started out this podcast 3 years ago. And not only that, I can actually promote a collaboration that I'm doing right now together with a project called EARMA Framework, where we'll do 15 episodes, and that's exactly on research management and developing tools and a handbook in relation to training. So it's an area that is of importance for many of you out there, and today's guest has already been in the virtual podcast studio before. Viltaré, welcome.
Hi, nice to be here.
Yeah, good to have you back. And the last time you were in here, we discussed the widening program.
Yeah, correct.
We had Thomas and Casalin with us back then, talking about the widening setup and projects funded by the widening. That's not the topic of today. We're going to talk about human skills in research management because you agreed to join the grant again. It's good energy when people they like to be in the grant, so I'm very happy about that. And I gave you a free hand on what you wanted to talk about. And this was your pick, human skills in research management. And many will relate, of the research managers will relate very well when we start this conversation. This is also why we're having it. Now, I've already been talking way too much, having a guest in the studio. Viltaré, can you shortly introduce yourself for the listeners?
Yeah, sure. So once again, hello, everyone, and thank you, Niels, for invitation to join your podcast again. I really enjoyed it the first time, and I'm sure I will enjoy the second time as well. So my name is Viltaré. I am the head of the Center of EU Project working in Slovak University of Technology in Bratislava. I am here already this is my 4th year in this university. Yeah, that's very shortly about me.
Thanks. Yeah. And now let's just move straight on to the fly-in. So, human skills and research management. Why do you want to talk about
that? Yeah, so why did I want to speak about it? I come myself from the social science background. I'm a social anthropologist by training. So kind of human skills and humans in general are fascinating for me. And before starting to work as a research manager, I didn't know that there is so much anthropology and so much human interaction and psychology in this profession. which is really interesting for me. And in general, research management now is the profession. The definition is growing, and now it's really a hot topic to speak about it, I think. And especially we will touch also the European framework, which kind of tries to define who should we be and what should we do in our profession. So I think it's quite an interesting topic to touch, and a lot of people, I think, will relate to it.
I guess what you can say about research managers that they are the human bridge between two different systems. The human bridge between the research team of person or persons that you're trying to help, and the system that you're trying to approach for external funding. And there's a lot of psychology in this, maybe not so much towards the commission or the funding administrators, but definitely towards the people that you're supporting. This is what all my guests, research managers I've had in, we always end up talking a substantial part of the conversation about human psychology, human skills, being a people person, how important that is in order to understand and facilitate for all different kinds of teams dynamics and personal persons psychology, like how to help them. So it's very important. Definitely gonna have a lot of listens for this, because there will be a lot of people relating to this out there.
I'm Thomas Brent, and you should definitely listen to The Grant, because it is the best podcast on European funding. Listen to it, give it a 5-star rating, go.
Amen. We have divided this conversation into a couple of blocks, and the first one is personal skills and practice. So let's start to look at what kind of personal skills you need, and maybe you share a little bit your own journey into the research management. To kick that off.
Gladly. Actually, my personal journey to this position is super random. I heard this word actually more and more often from research managers when I speak to them. The word random is really popular. But it's mostly that the researchers get tired of research and then they become research managers. In my case, it was even more random than this. Basically, I moved to Slovakia from Lithuania, where I'm from. And I was just looking for a job. And my husband sent me a job ad being a project manager in university. And he said to me, you can write. You are quite creative. I think you would succeed in this job. And I looked at it, and thanks God I didn't know what the actually research managers do, because I would never apply. I would be scared to apply. Yeah, so I applied, I got the job, and it's been a journey, I must say, and it still is. It's a very interesting job where you never stop learning. You never stop seeing new things, working on new things, meeting new people, and that's what I love about it.
Do you ever regret you apply?
No, definitely no. And I'm also not a person who would stay in the position if I would think that it doesn't fit me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's also a cheeky question, right?
Exactly. My boss might be listening.
Oh yeah, it's always like this. No, but it's not so much. I perfectly understand, but it's more the idea, of this moving into this area. If you have had moments where I thought, but I guess we all do.
Of course, yes. That's why I said that if I would have known what did actually research manager do, I would be scared to apply, because actually you need so many competencies, which of course you learn on the go, and I believe that we all do. So definitely sometimes, especially when I meet with some kind of competencies that maybe I still don't have and I should already have them maybe, then I say to myself, I need to learn this really fast. or I need to fake this really well that I know actually what I'm doing. Yeah.
It's if we, I guess, when you're a research manager, you, just because you're in a research institute or university covering different areas doesn't mean that you are an expert in these areas, especially not all of them.
Definitely.
And I guess that's where you, in the day-to-day work, come a little bit sometimes short. I remember that as a grants consultant, having clients where it was totally out of my comfort zone. Sometimes you just have to fake it until you make it, or just be clear about what you can and what you cannot do and know things about. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I'm trying to use the fact that my background is social science and I'm working in technical university as my superpower. I'm trying to sell it like that. That
Yeah.
I can offer the researchers a different point of view, and I can ask them questions that maybe an engineer would not ask because it would look obvious for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that by asking questions to researchers, you challenge them to also look at their research differently, which is usually really important in the research proposals, because you need to write it in a way that everyone would understand it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm trying to use it as a superpower, but not gonna lie to you, very often I meet the skeptical looks when they know that I have no idea what this project is about at the beginning.
Indeed. Yeah. And that's the challenge for all research managers, that the recognition of 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 what you do, from the researchers. Get back to that. Now, if we just in this blog we're sort of trying to sketch what is the work consist of. So the daily reality. Can you give us a short idea of how your working week looks like, so to speak? The elements of your job.
Well, how much time do you have? How my week looks like?
We're going to try to set a frame,
Yeah, I'm
before
joking.
we.
Of course. Um, well, personally, yeah. So we are, let's say, quite a small university, and our team is quite small. So we are covering actually the whole life cycle of the project. So we are covering preparation of the proposals, consulting on the budget, etc. Even step behind that, finding consortia and linking them to other universities. Then we are doing post-award management. So I also manage few projects, the ones that we actually discussed already in the previous episode. And so with that comes all the reporting duties and consultations. And then also I am the head of department, which covers a lot of HR, sometimes much more than I would like to handle.
Mm-hmm.
So my week or the daily routine looks very different every day, but I try to cover all three phases of the life cycle of the proposals.
Yeah. Proposal preparation, implementation, and hiring, HR stuff. Yeah. How much have you to do with your so in the hierarchy? So you are the person supporting the research teams. How close are you to your manager or managers?
Actually, very close. I'm lucky to have really nice managers, I must say,
Mm-hmm.
that are giving me quite a lot of freedom, and that they are supporting me in some kind of strategy of the department or vision of the university that I should know, and then I can help researchers to drive, towards that vision. So I would say that I am in the middle, in the case that I am maybe closer to researchers already than my managers are. So then I can also, transfer the needs of the management to the researchers and vice versa.
Mm-hmm. That's always, people don't like to talk about their managers in a podcast. But managers are vital in this respect. What is managers and research management position? It has historically been something that research managers have been complaining about, but that can sometimes lack an understanding of the role from the side of the manager. So it often finding oneself in a little bit of a void manager, that actually there's not so much understanding of what you actually do. So if you have managers that do understand your role and perfectly support it, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think I do. I think I do because I have two managers, one higher and the other one is like, so whatever hierarchy. But both of them were working with the projects quite closely, and they both tried this position, maybe not so deeply as I am in now, but on some level they did. So they do understand what it means.
It's absolutely vital.
Yeah.
No, I'm happy about that, because it is one of the things that I always end up talking about research managers, how vital it is that or at least the best thing is that if the managers have done it themselves.
Yeah.
So they know exactly what it entails. So I'm very happy for you. Now, talking a little bit about human skills, right? So what do you need?
Is that another question? You seem like you didn't finish.
It's a leading question, right? Because so can you try to sketch a little bit about the interpersonal skills, the human skills that you are using every day?
Yeah, I was thinking about this one quite a lot. So we started to speak about psychology. Definitely, you need to be, I don't know how to calling, like able to read people.
Yeah.
Able to understand them, because also here we are dealing, not all research managers, but the ones at least in my case working in university, you deal with a lot of researchers, and they are particular kind of people. They're very sensitive usually about what they do, about their research. So you need to know how to approach them, and each of them they are a little bit different, So in general, reading people, empathy, I would say, is quite important as well, to be able to feel the person's needs, his mood, not take things personally. That's also something I learned on the go. Not only speaking about the relationship with the researcher or with your manager or with the commission, whatever, but also while having, for example, failed proposals, which happens very often. We are dealing with Horizon, where success rate is really low. So that was something that I had to learn, to be resilient and not to take it personally. When you receive I don't know, 13 out of 15 points, and you end up just under the threshold, not the threshold, but the benchmark, and then how not to take it like personally. So that's something that's also important. I don't know how to actually call this a trait, but yeah.
It's all mental stability. I would say it's all a matter of being able to take different pushes, both from the system, about being, like disappointment after a very, very intensive work if it's not coming through. But then it's also a matter of this, reading the person, because the researchers, and that doesn't matter if it's a private research institute, RTO, or if it's university, they are very personal. It's their life often, especially in universities, and they're can be very sensitive about that, about their professional area that they work with. Anybody knows that in universities, it's almost like it can be like death combats if you have different views on the same academic discipline. And the fight for resources that so there's, my best guess is that there is time and again situations where you as a research manager would need to navigate and conflict resolving or treading very carefully on broken glass or broken eggshells on how to deliver message or how to facilitate them towards something, say that you want to go for a Horizon collaborative project and the direction is not exactly what they expected. They just want funding for their research often, right? But you come with an opportunity that fits, but it doesn't fit hand in glove. You might have to take off the thumb, so to say,
Exactly.
to fit, and to get them to swallow that juice. That for them it can feel like a bitter taste, where it for you as a research manager, but hey, look, you can move on with this and this part. Yes, but I'm missing this part. I'm missing the most important part of my lifelong research, and and in that situation, you probably just need to be feeling people.
Definitely. And also, I noticed that you need to manage to balance the relationship with the with the researchers, but as well with the consortia. That especially when you are a project manager and you are leading the project, and when you are really like there is a PI, of course, who is the like a research phase, but often it happens in our university that the PI doesn't want to be like the public face of the project, let's say, and he doesn't want to deal with the meetings, and he doesn't want to deal, with agendas and all of those things. And so the research managers have to kind of take this out of their hands, and then you become this kind of face of the project actually in the consortia, and then you start to deal with 3 or 4 other partners, and then you need to become this kind of buddy, that's like that they should not be afraid to ask you anything. I also noticed that you really need to know how to build the trust. Of course, that's the most important thing, but also build some kind of trustworthy relationship with people that you work. Because usually it's quite a long period of time that you work very closely together, and you need to be able to be open with each other. So it's really like a relationship a little bit.
Yeah, and I can also imagine that if you come in that situation where you sort of where your research team outsource the public role and communication with the project consortium, then you need to take a lot of care of how to make sure that every information comes back in the right place to the research team, or that there's a communication element also there, that you need to make sure that nobody say, oh, but why didn't why do we only hear of this now? Or this is not at all what we want to do. So making sure that every information critical to the researcher or the research team is delivered, so nobody can come after you. Because that's the difficult part of being a bridger,
exactly.
And that's where, again, this is my lifelong research. You're destroying it with your incapacities,
and you don't care about it.
yeah, amateur.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, I want to bridge into the next block, because actually the key square root of what you wanted to address in this episode, Viltaré, was or is the tension between all the things that happened at the commission level now, wanting to, with all good forces, the Commission wants to acknowledge the role. They want to create a different written down documents about what is the research management, what is it covering, what is supposed, sort of making it sort of more formal as a job title and as a role, as its recognition and so on. But the danger in that is that you have a lot of things written down, but that it's not calibrated with the real life. And many people who have been involved in that work, don't be angry, because we know everything has been done in the best way, and it is good work. But this is going to be an input to that, saying there might be some things that needs to be taken aware of in the further development of this work. So now let's just move ourselves into that, because it's something that you personally have wished to. So it's something that's close to your heart, right? So let's just start out with, because there's a competence framework that has been developed recently, right? But I'm going to put it in your hands to present, to give an overview of that, or to sort of sketch what that is. So can you open that up?
Yeah, so first of all, it was created at the beginning of this year and published. Actually, it was published at the same time as a competence framework for researchers and for research managers. So there are two different documents. One thing which is really nice, that this competence framework was designed bottom up. So it was designed by two projects. So by RM Roadmap, the project which basically began all of this discussion, and another project, Cardea. So I must say that it is a nice thing, definitely, and this is definitely something we need as a ground where to start. But the moment that I had a look at it, it's first of all is extremely overwhelming. Like if you would just open the first page, you see like immense amount of competencies that we need, and that we work with, which is true. I would even put even more what we were speaking already now. I appreciate that they put personal attributes as quite a long list that the research managers should have. But then again, the framework is designed to kind of put yourself to help you to put yourself on the map where you stand, to evaluate your skills, and then to search for some kind of training, which for me is maybe not the best solution, I would say. So it is a little bit, it is bottom up on one hand, but on the other hand, then we have some kind of list that we should be good at. But as we said, there is so much more in the daily life what we do.
So let's dig a little bit into this. So here we have I put in the rundown in the sub bullet here. So how does it resonate or not with the lived experience? So if we take what we just talked about, the life of sketching your working day, your working week, so to say, and things that you need to do. Where does it help, and where doesn't this competence framework help? Where does it not resonate really well?
I would say that there are many things that do resonate, definitely, but it doesn't help you in a way that it just states the fact that you need these skills, but it doesn't really say what to do with it. And to be honest, it just maybe shows how much overwhelmed we are as research managers, and actually what a broad skills competence we do have. And the fact that we actually are not trained for this, like the training doesn't really exist formally in many countries. It is emerging slowly, like on the university level, I mean, or as a profession in general. At least in my country, there is no option to to study this or to take some training for this, that you would be ready to be a research manager. So this is I think a big step, um, big first step towards the definition and towards maybe more trained specialists.
You know what I think? It's because it's always with the when the commission steps in and start to support different areas. There's always, you have different phases, right, and steps, because the commission, they're also only people. So of course they have engaged themselves with bottom up. That's very good. And the projects they have funded themselves to learn better how these things work. But I think the people who have sat and developed this, they are themselves trying to get their head around how you should approach this. And this again, I flag, promote the collaboration I've been doing. I have established now with the EARMA framework project, which is a continuation of some of the same organizations that did the EARMA roadmap, and that's exactly this. It's trainings. So they are developing a handbook for training. So it's the RM roadmap, the formation project, and the other project you also mentioned here. It's all steps in trying to do some building blocks on how is this this job title, this profession. What is it actually? How do we get our heads around and get some frames around how to support it, how to deal with it, because it's all kinds of elements, right? And I think what you mentioned in our pre-talk before this conversation, how what might be missing, those are the psychology parts, right?
Yeah.
Human psychology, adaptability, resilience, these things that all research managers talk, right? When I talk to them, right? When I have them in this podcast studio, this is what they talk about. This is what is difficult in this role. It's not just the different formal layers, job description. It's the mental solidity you need to have in many different corners. Do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm just looking now at this yellow part of the compass, which is called cognitive abilities / personal attributes.
Yeah.
But again, as we were saying, you need to read people, you need to be some kind of psychologist, etc. And here it says, okay, creativity, critical thinking, cultural sensitivity, problem solving, strategic planning, which is all great. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's again a little bit unhumanized, I would say. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's the thing maybe that a little bit bothers me with this, that but it's of course an official language, and that's what we speak about, commission language versus real life language and our work language. Yeah.
Now I'm looking at it as well here now, just in doing this in real time. So yeah, European competence framework for research managers. So of course there'll be a link on the website for this episode. We will put a link to the site so you can look it up yourself. You can even look it up while you're listening to this, so you can follow what we're talking about here. Yeah, so in the competence framework for research managers that has been developed, you have you have 7 different key areas. And when we talk about the psychology part of the human skills part, so this is, you have a set it's the yellow part, set of elements that they have put here: stress management, problem solving, some of the things that we're discussing here. So your comment on it, Viltaré, again,
Yeah. So
on this part.
yeah. So I'm just saying that, the cognitive abilities and personal attributes that are stressed here are nice and definitely important, but it sounds a little bit dehumanized, and I think the connection between the personal connection is a little bit missing. But of course, I understand that it's hard to put it on the paper if it is designed to be framework for you to map your skills.
And here we step into the problem from the commission side, right? Because it's whenever you have reports, whenever you have green books, blue books, whatever things that are being developed, or you have commission language.
Yeah.
So, and everybody who's been involved in this from the bottom up side, they have had to adjust their normal language to commission language. But what it does is that it puts a distance between the reader that sits with this every day when you want to formalize the language around what it actually is that we're talking about. It's of course a pity. it's a pity.
It is.
Yeah, because there's no need for it. But it's like this: you have it's like a government. Their government official documents are. Then they want to if you want to reach the people, if you want this to be a document that people use, then of course you need to think about it, because if you need to decode everything, if you need a facilitator, it's like the facilitating role that you have in the work with the approaching funding, right? You need to decode what is written in a call text for your research team so they understand it, because it's written in specific language. The same here. You need to decode it as a user to empathically be able to think, what is it that how can I use what they're trying to say here? What is this commission language? Now this word is okay, this is what they mean here in my day-to-day life, and this is what they mean here with my day-to-day life.
Just a short comment on this. I'm very happy that the cognitive abilities and personal attributes actually is one of the longest lists. So it is acknowledged actually that it is super important. But just to give an example, the very first thing on this list is creativity, which I think is extremely important. And I'm very happy to see it on the list. But, and then, when you will read the compass itself and one by one the skill you should have, then it has 4 different levels. So you have foundational level, intermediate, advanced, and expert level, and then you should read it and you should be able to map yourself where you are. So in the creativity expert level, you should be, I'm quoting, creating a long-lasting positive footprint in the organization through the introduction of various policies and practice which create novel and long-reaching positive impact. If this is expert of creativity, this is what I mean by a little bit inhumanized language while speaking about our working creativity.
And I bet you 1,000 euros that the people that came with the input from this, the first draft, it did not sound like that.
Definitely not, I'm sure. Yeah.
At all. and that's what makes you zone out when you put your gaze go into infinite, right? To the horizon, when you start this word mash of formal words that and I'm sorry, probably be people from the commission listening. Maybe they're because they don't have to rate to their managers and say what they think about this podcast episode. So many of them will probably say that not. This is the bullshit we deal with every day in the commission.
Exactly. Reading and trying to understand what it is.
And it's probably impossible to change.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy that that I can freely talk about this, because it's so very important. I also deal with that in my work. It's this need for a governmental system to have a specific written discourse, a specific language, and it's rock solid, right? It's built up over decades how we write in reports and write in official documents, even if it's towards the user. It has to be in a specific way, but it's just a word salad sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yeah.
It's not just a hammer the commission episode, this one, right? It's important to flag it because it's also part of the things that I here and then point out in the other areas, that it's so important that at least we try to make little changes with my podcast here, just to let them know that try to change just a little bit here and there, because you do so much. That's the thing. You have so many people in the commission. They really want to help, and then when it comes out, it's not calibrated with that really want to be it, because it gets too difficult to decode what they want, and then it's lost all that good effort.
Yeah, and especially that, as you said, this framework is designed for us. It's not something that they should say what they want when, okay, I understand when you read the call, you need to decode and find out actually what is needed. Okay, you will give us money. Fair enough. But this should be the tool that I should be able to open it and actually analyze my role and analyze what I'm missing and what should I do better. But I open it, and with the first point, I'm demotivated to read more, because I'm just like, I'm not gonna spend my time, trying to decode a tool which should help me and which was designed by us to us. And I would be really interested to hear maybe some comments from actually people on the project that actually supported this and created this, because that's a huge job, and I'm really super happy that this is happening. Just it's interesting to see how it is developed.
Well, I probably some of the people that has been in this podcast before has been involved, because the RM roadmap has been. I've been in focus in this podcast earlier, and I have EARMA is part of my collaboration in the RM framework, and these people have been. I think they were coordinators of the RM roadmap, right? So but whether they want to have, because this is also a matter of the relationship to the commission, right?
Definitely.
So if they start to water them down, I'm not sure that we can get them to do. But I can definitely check if they want to have a.
I don't want to start a war. Don't get me wrong.
No, it's delicate. It's always delicate when it comes to talking about these kind of things. But it's an interesting conversation anyway. So I will check if that's of any interest to have a conversation about this competence framework. The commission itself should be interested in promoting it, but I'm not sure they're interested in having a critical conversation about.
It's called feedback.
All right. Is there anything else we need to? I think we covered it quite well. This call.
Yeah.
I have to laugh. That was so cheesy. If you want to make sense of the big, bright universe that is EU funding, listen to the podcast and start cracking.
We have a section put in here because that's also what we discussed concerning hiring and training challenges, because that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about in the pre-talk in this frame that this episode should be. So what is the role? You have and then you have this framework, competence framework we just discussed, and the calibration to real life, but then also the reality in Eastern Europe, and the whole area of research management, the difference between university research systems, the level, so to say, of focus that you have north, south, east, west, that there is an issue here with with history and legacy of systems. Academic systems are conservative by nature. It's like that everywhere, and there is an anger, so to say, that's difficult to get rid of from the communist legacy. Academy of Sciences, or that Western and Northern systems have many issues as well with conservative, but there are specific issues to Eastern Europe. So maybe let's try to unfold that.
Yeah, I a little bit covered it in the beginning, saying that in Slovakia and in many other Eastern Central European countries, there is no formal training or career path or even option, research management as an option in a career fairs, let's say, because you cannot learn it anywhere. And that indeed gives a huge challenge to actually find people for this position, because it's hard to even start thinking of what you should ask in a job description. When there is no official training, nowhere to study it. So then you need to get creative, which this competence framework actually can help you. That's definitely true, that you can at least, you have some kind of categories. Yeah, but I heard that in the West Europe is very similar, that research management is nowhere defined very well as a profession.
It's getting better.
Definitely.
It's getting much better. It's all a matter of resources, Viltaré. Yeah. It's all a matter of resources. Because if you're fighting for resources in your system, then the researchers, they are themselves supposed to deal with applying for EU funding. Yeah. We don't need to hire a role to do that, because we don't have the resources for it. Or if we do, then you should earn your own money, so to say.
Yeah.
By the support with getting home funding, then part of the funding would be your salary, right? That's how it works. In the Western and Northwestern, so South, there's a big difference between Denmark and Spain, for instance, here, right? And Italy. So the South looks much more like the East in that respect. In the North, you have university and you have systems, also government systems, where you have much more money rolling to public universities and also private ITOs, which means that you can afford the investment in the role. So it's de-risking. It's basically what the European Commission is doing with its research funding, right? It's what you have in government levels here in corners, where you have enough government. The government have resources to do this and take these choices, right? But some countries, Northwest, it has been slow. It's not just because it's more well-off country, so to say, that it's something that then would be in focus on this role. So I think people are struggling everywhere with this, but particularly Eastern Europe, because, well, the historical context that most people naturally know, the communist system, very heavy research systems. A lot of resources in the communist system went into that because of the competition with the West. But archaic, like very old-fashioned, very heavy in its not very agile systems, and very conservative, very, like when money was given to us, and then it was rock solid what should be done with that money, because also a planned economy, right? And then coming out on the other side after 89 to break these systems of loss of power vested in those systems. The Academy of Science system, that was sort of a national board for people not knowing, national board that had the power of where resources should go and where research should be done. And it's difficult to wrest that power out of people's hands when they have it, right? So it took quite a while. And then combined with this, you have a system that so much wanted to get away with everything public. Yeah, very much looking towards America and very liberal model when it comes to anything sort of government funding for all parts of society was sort of stripped. So everything should be market. So in that context, giving a lot of resources to university and all kinds of things it is only coming now. Yeah. The last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, Poland starts also to be a richer country, for instance, so they have the money to put into the system, also other corners, Czech Republic and so on, the money flowing in. How is it actually in Slovakia?
I don't want to go into politics. It's not great. It's not great in the sense that the percentage of the budget is getting smaller that would be dedicated to research and innovation. But we are trying to negotiate with the ministry. As one of the largest university, we have the power to do that. But political situation is definitely not super favorable towards the research. So it's super important for us to be competitive and to find external funding and to get external funding for our researchers, because we know that the state maybe will not support that much. But we have, in the Eastern Bloc, if we can call it like that, we have few great examples, like Estonia, for example, that the government is giving a huge percentage to the research and innovation. And they are, I think, one of the few that already in the innovation scoreboard jumped to the blue, the blue face. I don't know how familiar you are with the innovation scoreboard. But that's kind of a comparison of the countries on various things. And then each year is measured, and Estonia now jumps on the level with the Western countries.
If we take the thread into the research management part here, so what it does, that's the reality, right? That's the framework conditions you have, and that means that you probably you have managers that understand your role. That is vital in your corner, in your isolated world, so to say, your daily work. But in general, what you just said, so the role is underdeveloped, no formal training or career path. That's sort of baseline in many Eastern European countries.
Yeah.
And what that does naturally is that if you then hire if you do set up the role, salary, you can guess. Also, because it's not a formal role, you probably lack. So when you do need to hire people, you said you are in HR. It's also a matter of what are the kind of candidates you get in. What do the applications look like? What's the experience? Do they actually understand what the role is? So the pool of quality, so the quality of the pool, there might be perfect candidates in any given country, but they don't know about the role. So they wouldn't look for the posts. So the people that do look, it's not what you need, or it's only partly what you need. But maybe you can elaborate yourself.
Basically, now currently I have 5 people in my team that are supporting researchers, and
that's nice.
That's nice. Yes, it is. All of them came to the position as junior, but the same like me. So I don't want to be a hypocrite here.
No. Yeah.
So definitely, as you said, a lot of people are applying without really knowing to what they are applying. Again, the same like me. I'd applied because I thought, okay, maybe I could do this. yeah, and then when as we were speaking, when I'm doing interviews, I am looking much more into the personal traits and skills, and than in actually the technical ones. Because if I would look at the technical part, for example, of the competence framework, I would never find people here who would apply with such a competence
Yeah.
to work in the university as a research manager in Slovakia for the state salary.
Mhm.
So that's the thing, that we are left with hiring junior people, even
Yeah.
when we have a funding. For example, we are awarded a project and we do have funding to hire a person, but then it's really hard to find the competent one. So you end up still with the junior, and a lot of my time goes to training that person and to mentoring that person. So if we speak about some kind of skills or traits that I try to spot on the candidates,
Mhm.
is definitely self-driven person, because that's very important for a junior to be motivated, to have inner motivation, and to be curious. I noticed that in really in research management, you really need to be curious about things,
Yeah.
because there are so many of them, and you need to keep reading, keep learning about all the ends, research, commission, technologies, everything. Then some kind of creativity, and what we already covered, and then insightfulness. I think
Yeah.
also. So what I do, I prepare some kind of little tests to just check where their mind is, to read some proposal and to see how they react to the language, to the comments, etc.
Yeah. It is super tricky
Yeah.
in the role, because one thing is that you have your main task is supporting your research teams approaching funding.
Yeah.
But the training parts, if it's not something that you have, if you need to adjust yourself to that, if you're not a teaching skills like this, you need to understand how you do this best to get them up to speed, and that's juggling.
Yeah.
That's juggling. I'm right now. I will when this episode is coming out. This episode will already be, but right now I'm editing this week's next week's episode, research management strategy building. I'm doing together with Stephanie Harfensteller, and exactly this episode this week is about training and capacity building. So there's something there. We'll link to the episode because it's very concrete. How they have sort of made a handbook, so sort of internal, so she doesn't have to sit with everything, like a tennis trainer, so they can do that. Some PowerPoint presentations also with different things, and then of course there's one-to-one here and there, because it needs to be personalized to the different persons' issue, like capacities. But it's tricky.
It
Huh?
is. It is. It's really tricky. Especially that you are hiring juniors, meaning you are spending a lot of time with them. And then, of course, it's not for everyone. Some people, find out in half a year, in a year, that it's totally not for them.
Mm-hmm.
Or you understand that a person doesn't fit, and then you need to start over. So it is in my case, I would say, one of the biggest challenges I have, because as you said, the pool is usually limiting, but I'm trying to see the young talents, to spot them, and then to take them in and to train them on the go.
This is also what Stephanie mentioned, that this is the biggest challenge, that she trains, and then she's also training the PhD candidates themselves, but they leave.
Yeah.
When they finish the PhD, so it's this idea of wasted training, so to say, for you, because you need capacities in your team. So this very frustrating work of building something up, and then when they're actually quite good, then they go somewhere else.
Exactly. Yeah. For example, in Slovakia, this is really a threat, because in university the salary is not so competitive as in consultancy companies. But in consultancy company, they will rarely take a junior person because they need results there. They, in university you have this still, luxury to hire a junior person because it's let's say not so strict. But in private business, they want results immediately. So then it also can happen that you train the person in university, he gets those skills, he gets actually those technical skills, and then the person leaves to the public sector. So that's another thing that I need to think about, how to keep that person, how to keep him motivated to, and how to kind of teach the person that we are doing, we are helping researchers to do the great science, so there is another layer of some kind of psychology and some kind of, playing.
Because you don't want to be a breeding ground, do all the hard work
of course.
investing in making people strong professionals, and then when they are that, then
they go for more money.
Haps. Yeah. It's that's and that's making your working place attractive with other things.
Yep.
We need to move on. Is there anything else you want to comment on this point?
No, I think we covered all.
Reflections and advice section. There are a few bullets here, but maybe we start out with, do you have any advice first to research managers in this corner? Is there anything
you want to start with the
specifically?
Yeah, that's a good one also. Took me a while to think of a good advice, so I thought of three advices.
Yeah.
So the first advice would be that reflection is really important, which is linked with the second point, that as a research managers we are driven by deadlines, and we very often don't have time to appreciate and to look back at our skills and maybe to see what we did correctly, what we did good, what we did bad, so to reflect ourselves and to basically realize that we are so much more than a deadline. And to go for those trainings and to really learn all the time. And then the last advice, which is, I think, from my experience, probably the most important, is to find a community. I remember when I went first time to EARMA 3 years ago, it was my first year as a RMA, and I was so relieved to see how many people there are. It was very inspiring, and this is really, I think, the biggest advice, that if you never were in any bigger event with other RMAs or maybe even local meetings with people from other institutions, because the sharing of experience and sharing of knowledge and being just together and discussing these day-to-day life things, which are actually all the same, almost no matter from which country you are. Whenever I speak to whoever who works with the researchers, you can find so many points that are the same. And for me, it was really inspiring, and it made me feel that, okay, I'm not alone in this, and there are actually people to whom I can write an email and ask for advice. And I think that's a very strong thing in our field community.
It is what many of the research, what all of them actually says, that this community that has been built up over the last few years, it's very important for them.
Yeah.
That frame, because it's a very specific role, and there are many of them throughout Europe. It's a big event, the annual EARMA conference. You have 1,500 or something like this, 2,000 joining.
Yeah.
Thanks. Any reflections you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, we were speaking also about the skills, and you asked me before what I wished I knew maybe before I I started.
Yeah.
I already mentioned that I'm happy I didn't know how much I would want, I would need to know actually. But yeah, it is just very important to understand that you need to be always in the loop of the things that's happening. And I wish I knew that maybe in the beginning when I had more time, because now once you are already very much in it, you don't have maybe time to stop a little bit and I don't know, to read some interesting things that's happening in commission or in general in research and innovation. But my another advice now just coming to my head is to really read a lot of these things, the European news and the research news, because you kind of start living in it, to live it, you start to live in this bubble,
Mhm.
and it's hard to get out of it.
Yeah, that is also a square root thing that research managers say. You walk a lot of miles alone,
Yeah.
many kilometers alone. It can be a lonely road. So
Yeah.
all right, Viltaré, thank you so much. Now the only thing we have left here is the toughest challenge. Yeah. So I have this in all my episodes. So the toughest challenge as a research manager that truly cares about the human skills.
The toughest challenge is hard to say. I was thinking about it, and I didn't come up with anything, to be honest. I don't like to call it the challenge, the toughest challenge, but still, like, for me, maybe the most challenging part of my work, which is also can be taken in with a good connotation, because the challenge is a good thing. That's what keeps you going. Is still the human relationship, that you need to always juggle with professionalism, but also you need to learn how to be good with everyone, basically.
Yeah, but it's a good reflection on that question. Viltaré, thank you so much. I'm just going to land the plane before we say goodbye to the dear listeners. So, dear listeners, thank you so much for listening to the end of this hopefully nice podcast, as nice as I think it was to have the conversation. If you like this episode, there's a treat for you, because I have a lot of episodes in my podcast already recorded on research management. So if you go to the grant.eu website, that's my platform, and you'll find all episodes in there, categorized. Also, so you will find on the campus category all the episodes related to university and research. That's also where I have episodes on this topic. Go there and check it out and say, wow, this is great. I really want to subscribe to that email of this podcast. So please, if you want to support a humble independent podcaster, go to the bottom of each website on my platform. You'll find an online form to subscribe to my email list. That's a very simple way you can support an independent podcaster. So thanks in advance for that. Finally, of course, connect with me on LinkedIn. That's where the fun happens. That's where the flow is. So Niels Tullervinter, connect with me, and do go and like the grant site on LinkedIn. Also, this is where all the information flows, and this is also where I pick up my guests. Most of them anyway. So if you want to join the grant, if you have something to share, do not hesitate at all to reach out to me. It's that. Thanks for joining, Viltaré.
Thank you for having me. It was great talking to you, as usual.
A wonderful conversation, and we will stay in touch, because you will be back on the show, because there's lots to talk about. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Let's say goodbye to dear listeners. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Grant. All the Grant episodes are there on site on the Grant website. You will find the link in the episode notes with the podcast host where you listen to your podcast. On the site for this episode, you'll find a link to Viltaré's personal LinkedIn site. And you'll of course also find a link to the RMComp website and a link to my research management short series. Next week I have 2 guests in the studio for a talk about how to approach your professional writing. Technical bias or storytelling bias? Well, you can look forward to that.